how can countries like Pakistan, for example, just want to zoom into a particular country, a developing nation, which is grappling with various infrastructural issues. How
Mhm.
can it leverage this technology? Because, in our world, in economic development, we use the term leapfrog development. You go through phases of development that countries missed. They weren't part of the Industrial Revolution. Then, they weren't part of the tech revolution, to say so, in commensurate with the Western world. But then now we have Web3, we have blockchain, we have crypto. Are these countries at a position where they can leverage these technologies, or they lack in infrastructure? They don't have the tools to really make the most of it or optimize it in the best possible manner.
Actually, I think it's the inverse, because blockchain really was created to democratize access, right? So if someone in Pakistan was actually mining Ethereum or Bitcoin 5, 10 years ago, they would have enough supply of oil and gold to actually spend on this network as much as they please and build applications and do whatever they like. On another level, because this decentralized network now exists, it's allowing smaller startups to actually break into fintech, like my company, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't have to go out and build this infrastructure before I start working on my business, right? So by that analogy, same thing to Pakistan or Pakistani startups or entrepreneurs in Pakistan, you can get started with very little amounts of money and then scale that, because you don't have enough capital expense to actually set up the network. There's already a decentralized worldwide network that exists that you can leverage, right? Now, the biggest use case that I've seen adopted at a country level, right, was El Salvador. They're the best
Yeah.
example, right? They had ridiculous crime. I was actually there with them when I was working in the aviation industry. You have to get guards, right? Because they actually stormed the Sheraton Hotel and kidnapped a bunch of people. Crime was horrible there, right? And they've now cleaned up all the crime. They've completely killed the inflation. People are actually making good money. Their sovereign wealth fund is up a couple $1 billion because they bought a bunch of Bitcoin instead of holding US dollars or holding any other foreign exchange that they could get sanctioned on at any point in time. And then they're screwed.
So what are the policy level measures that a country like Pakistan needs to implement? Because as of now, you're not even allowed to legally trade Bitcoin or buy Bitcoin in Pakistan or any other crypto for that matter.
Well, I think that's part of the reason is because they think that their ecosystem is so fragile that if there's any departure of any kinds of capital from within their economy,
Yeah.
it's going to absolutely handicap the economy. But what they're completely missing out on the other side is the boost that economy is going to gain from adopting these kind of digital modes of transaction, right? Not only is it going to, for countries like Pakistan, not only is it going to provide financial inclusion, where the friend that I was telling you about at the start of the call, who was doubled his PKR salary over the last 5 years, but is making half the amount in USDC. If he could have access to Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies as a hedge, I'm not saying put all of it in it, but even if he'd put 20% of his income into it, he would have a level of, he would have an increased spending power compared to the rest of the population that hadn't invested in these kinds of currencies. Then Pakistan's one of those countries where a vast majority of the population is actually unbanked, right? And they don't actually meet minimum criteria to be banked. Right?
I think actually only 3% of the people are like bank or with formal institutions, or even less.
Right. So, and these people fall prey to predatory loans, predatory financial arrangements, outright fraud, where they'll just take your money and tell you to pound sand, right? If I could custody my own money, even in PKR, even if you wanted to create a PKR coin, right? That's still perfectly fine. That allows these people to not be stuffing their mattresses and be at a risk of robbery or at a risk of fraud and Ponzi schemes, right? Where right now there's even, and it's kind of sad to admit, even someone in my extended family got done by a Ponzi scheme recently in Pakistan, right? All the money floated over to Dubai and it's impossible to track because it was all in cash. Well, if it was in PKR coin, we know exactly how much was spent where and who has how much and how much is recoverable. And it's much easier to file those cases at that point in time, right? Then remittance, which is a big source of income for a large population of Pakistani families with, their counterparts or members of the companies overseas that are sending back monthly stipends. All of that is, we're being charged an excessive amount in Pakistan. Like, it's actually obscene. I get charged 2 to 3x more to send dollars to Pakistan and then get bashed on the exchange rate compared to me sending money to Australia or Europe or any other first world country. That's ridiculous, because even JP Morgan internally, settling between HSBC and Chase here in the United States, they now use Ripple in the background to settle it. And now your settlement costs are under $5, whereas they used to be $35 less than a year ago. So that is something that even if Pakistan didn't adopt it on a government, but even aligned remittances, which you can mandate being converted into PKR coin. That's perfectly fine.
So basically, even if you open avenues for transaction, that's enough at the micro level that will allow people to make the most of, whatever opportunity these crypto modes of transaction have to offer.
Right. And then you've got blockchain-based land registries, which we already spoke about. That just completely gets rid of the party. The file system is obscene in Pakistan. I've seen my own dad struggle with it. And I didn't used to get it as a kid. It's like, what do you mean you have a file? What do you mean you're going to get a plot at some point in the future? Just paying money in. What if it's facing a graveyard? It's like, well, then it's facing a graveyard. Right. So all of those things go away. And there's a level of transparency that gets introduced into our framework. Right. The problem with Eden Villas wouldn't probably have happened, or it would have caught a lot earlier if it was all on chain. Right. So all of these inefficient bureaucracies, which honestly are partly by design.
I think so too. Yeah. I think there's a deliberate need to maintain that status quo, and that's only been done when, there's all these even non-financial transactions are made in paper form that are not digitalized. Because the more you digitalize, there's less room for corruption or for maneuvering around these transactions that happen.
Right. And then, like we mentioned earlier, micro lending is massive. Like, if I have everyone on a digital identity, I know this guy, he has a Golgappa stand on Link Road, right? He makes 20,000 rupees a month, right? If he wants another 10,000 rupees to expand his operations to a second stall, he's not getting that money from anywhere except for hard money loans, which are sometimes charging interest rate upwards of 60 to 70%. And they're all gangsters. Like, there's no legitimate hard money loan.
Yeah.